Hi everyone, welcome to my Building an Ext JS application using Modern Toolkit video. It's episode 2 where we will discuss Ext JS application structure. Application structure is a big and complex topic, and I will not go into all details in this short video, but we will discuss basic concepts like application build profiles, Ext JS class system, and modern view model pattern for dividing an Ext JS application code. Let's look at the folder structure of the applications that we have generated in the previous episode. The main source code of our application is located into app folder. Build folder includes testing and production builds for our application. Generated files contain some files generated by Ext JS. Node modules, it's a container for npm packages, Ext JS packages located into packages folder, and you could put additional resources like fonts, icon into resources folder. Main entry point to our application is of course index.html file and app.json file. Main application configuration parameters located into app.json file, Ext JS workspace configuration parameters located into workspace JSON file, and npm configuration params are in package.json file. So let's discuss application build profiles. Application build profiles is variations of application that will be loaded depending on some conditions. These conditions could be based on environment variables, like for example, if user uses iPhone to access our application, we could load specific variation of our app and load another variation for Android device, for example. These variations described into app.json file, into build section. Our application has two profiles, desktop and phone. Both profiles uses Toolkit, Modern Toolkit, and Material Design theme. And source code of desktop profile located into desktop folder inside of app folder, and phone profile files located into phone folder. And shared folder contains classes that are shared between desktop and phone profiles. So how do we perform switch between two profiles when we will load desktop and when we will load phone version of our application? This logic is located into index.html file, and switch will be performed into beforeLoad function, ext.beforeLoad function. This function will be called before main source code of our application will be loaded into browser. And this function will receive only one parameter, tags, and this parameter is an object that includes all environment variables. And for example, it will include information about browser, device, about screen resolution, and some additional parameters. In our case, we load desktop version of our application. If URL includes world desktop, or if user uses desktop to access our application. Otherwise, we load phone version of our application. Let's discuss classes in Ext JS application. Ext JS has its own advanced class system, and every file, JavaScript file in Ext JS application describes one class. This class will be defined using ext.define function, and we specify class name and class content. Class could extend another class. So in this case, our main view extend ext.container. It's an Ext JS class. You could extend your own class. And then we describe some additional parameters about our class. We could also specify some mixins that will be included into our class, or plugins, for example. We could also tell that our class is singleton. There is some additional parameters that you could use in Ext JS class system, and you could find more details in documentation. So let's discuss Mvvm pattern that is used to divide Ext JS application code. It helps to divide Ext JS code into logical pieces: model, view, view model, view controller. Model is data in your application. Model class describes one piece of data, and normally models work in combination with stores. Store is a collection of models. View describes UI of your application. It's a tree, grid, panel, toolbar, or something like this, and views could contain another views. In this case, child views should be added into items array of a parent view, and layout property of a parent view define how child views will be positioned inside of parent view. View model define the pieces of data that will be used in particular view. And view controller maintains view logic and define event handlers. Let's look at the definition of the main view of the desktop version of our application. Main view inherits from Ext container class and contains 5 children. Some of them are docked to left, top, bottom, and right sides. And layout fit means that central view will take all space that is available. And we define controller and view model for our view. Ext type is an alias that we will use for our view. Here it's main view, and all this nav view, header view, footer view, all these values are aliases. So let's look at view model for our main view. View model is a separate, defined in a separate file, and it also has an alias, and it describes pieces of data that will be used in our application, in our main view. And it's just plain pieces of data, and it could be some formulas that will calculate some values based on other values, and it could define also stores like collections of models. And let's look at view controller. It's defined here, and for some cases, for some components, we could define listeners for some events. Like in this case, we define listener for select event and specify a handler function. And this handler function is defined into our main view controller. It's defined here. So main view controller responsible for handling events in our views, and it could also handle roads, but we discuss roads in one of the next episodes. View controller and view model classes will be created at the same time when main view will be created, and destroyed at the same time when main view will be destroyed. In this episode, we have discussed an Ext JS application structure, and in the next one, we will define a basic layout for our FIFA app. See you in the next episode.